unashamed, unconfounded, tell a friend. Get Isaiah 45:17 for the win. That future world looking bright.
All right, shalom. Most High in Christ, blessed everybody tuning in. All praises to the Most High in Christ. We're the future world of Israel, back with another quick build. My name is Brother Ariah, and I got with me
Matthias.
Right, and today's topic is grow in grace, the Sabbath. Grow in grace, the Sabbath. The Lord is doing some amazing things on the earth. A lot of people are waking up to this marvelous truth where you're coming back to your heritage, your nationality, right? And keeping God's laws through Christ as the children of Israel. And what should be going to your mind now is what's next, right? So we're just going to go through in this series. It's going to be a series of laws that we're going to go through just to get you started and walking towards obedience to the Christ as he delivered them, as he delivered the commandments, right? So with that being said, we're going to get right into it. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 2 and start in verse 21.
1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 21. For even thereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example, that ye should follow his steps.
Right, it says, for even hereunto were you called, because Christ suffered for us, leaving us an example, that ye should follow his steps. A lot of people call themselves Christians, which is supposed to mean Christ-like, but you don't do the things that Christ did. And that's problematic, right? Because when somebody wants to keep commandments and walk in faithfulness to the scriptures, they're called a Pharisee. But when I look at the scriptures, Christ rebuked the Pharisees for teaching the people to keep God's laws and not doing it. Right? Read that one more time and go straight to verse 22.
2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 21. For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example, that ye should follow his steps.
We should follow his steps. Read.
Who did no sin.
What the Bible say?
Who did no sin.
Who did no sin. Sin, pursuant to 1 John 3 and 4, is when you break God's laws and you transgress or go against God's laws. Christ didn't do that. Christ was faithful to God's laws, right? Read.
Neither was guile found in his mouth.
Right, and he didn't have a double tongue, right? Christ wasn't saying, he wasn't saying he loved the Father, but then he didn't do the things that the Father told him to do, right? Christ spoke in righteousness and truth, right? So from there, let's go to the book of St. Luke, because remember the thought, we have to follow Christ's steps, who did no sin, right? Luke chapter 4. Luke chapter 4, and let's start in verse 16.
St. Luke chapter 4 and verse 16.
Come on.
And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was.
And as his what?
As his custom was.
This is what Christ did on the regular basis. This was customary for Christ, right? His normal routine of life. So as his custom was, read.
He went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day.
On the what day?
On the Sabbath day. And stood up for to read.
There's a myriad of scriptures we can go into. But Christ's custom on the Sabbath was to go into the synagogue, into the place of worship, right? And he read, as you keep reading, the prophet Isaiah. So we see that Christ adhered to the Sabbath day. Now, with that being said, what does that mean? What does that look like? Right? What does it look like to adhere to the Sabbath day when you read the scriptures? That's what we're going to get into today, right? Let's go to the beginning. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1. Y'all trek with me because hopefully, Lord's will, you get some understanding, because there's some things that have to be unpacked when you think about the Sabbath day, right? Genesis chapter 1, start at verse 5.
Genesis chapter 1 and verse 5.
Come on.
And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning.
And the what?
And the morning were the first day.
So the Bible says, in the evening and the morning were the first day. Keep that in mind. It says the evening and the morning were the first day. Jump down to verse 8.
Verse 8. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day.
The evening, the morning, second day. So it's showing you a pattern, right? Jump down to verse 13.
Verse 13. And the evening and the morning were the third day.
So now we're at the third day, and it's consistent. The evening and the morning. The evening and the morning, right? So what we're used to is, you chilling at the house, and then when your watch gets close to 12 o'clock midnight, which is short for middle of the night, all of a sudden the day starts in the middle of the night, right? That's what your friendly neighborhood white man has taught you.
Right.
Right? Let's just say it straight like that. Right? But when you read the scriptures, the God of the Bible, the God of Israel, has a different prescription or a different description on how the day begins. It begins in the evening. Right? Let's go to Genesis chapter 1 and verse 31.
Genesis chapter 1 and verse 31.
Come on.
And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good.
It was very good. Read.
And the evening and the morning.
The evening and the morning, there it is again, read.
Were the sixth day.
Were the sixth day. So now we're at the sixth day, and it's been evening and morning throughout. Right? Go ahead to Genesis chapter 2 and start at verse 2.
Genesis chapter 2 and verse 2. And on the seventh day.
On what day?
On the seventh day.
Pay close attention. Read.
God ended his work, which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day.
Read.
From all his work, which he had made.
So now we see the seventh day, and the Most High sets a pattern for us to follow. He rests on the seventh day. Christ does what he saw the Father do. So Christ also rested on the seventh day. Remember, we have to follow his steps. He did no sin. Right? Read verse 3.
Verse 3. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it.
Sanctified it. Why?
Because that in it he had rested from all his work, which God created and made.
So we see that God rested. We see he sanctified it, meaning he set it apart. He made it special, right? He made it separate. In other words, that seventh day, it's not going to be treated like the other first 6 days. What you're seeing is the weekly cycle, right? From day 1 to day 7. Now those days have been replaced with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay? Now, what does that word evening mean? Let's go to Proverbs 7 and 9. And the reason why I want to unpack this, because I remember when I first came into the truth, and I knew that the evening was when the day started, but I'm asking Siri, what time is evening? And Siri telling me the sun will set at 6:30 p.m. So I'm thinking, oh, shoot, I got to hurry up and run to the Walmart. And I got to run and get it. You always see Israel running out of Walmart with fringes, running in and out of Walmart because you forgot something. You're trying to beat the clock, right? But really what we should be trying to beat, right, is the life that the Lord gave us to give us an understanding of when the evening starts. Like, let's get into it. Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 9.
Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 9. In the twilight, in the evening.
In the evening, read.
In the black and dark night.
What is the evening?
The black and dark night.
So when it was evening is when it's dark. So here I am at 6:30 and the sun fully out, but I'm trying to hurry up and rush so I can get, again, that's why we say grow in grace. And the more you start keeping commandments and adding the commandments to your lifestyle, the more God's wisdom starts to get unpacked in your own life, right? And you'll see that thing is spiritual, right? From there, let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 8. We're not going to be before you long. Lord's will, you getting something out of it, right? So remember, the evening and the morning, right? The day starts at dark, okay? Read what you got, Exodus 20 and 8.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 8.
Come on.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Now this is very important. The Bible is using plain language. Remember the Sabbath day. Don't let your Christian pastor tell you, oh, it can be Sunday. I remember talking to one sister, my wife was talking to her, she said, well, I want my Sabbath to be Tuesday. What scripture is that? We should be humbling ourselves and fearing the Lord's judgments.
Right.
We should be trembling at this word. Right? Going back to the first class we did on how to approach and understand the Bible. Don't just see these words and just bypass them and add whatever you want, all willy-nilly. No, do thus saith the Lord. Right? Read that one more time.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Keep it special, separate, or set apart. Right? Read.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you have to do all your work. Any work that needs to be done, cutting the grass, washing your car. Brothers love to get up on a Saturday morning and wash their rims.
Yeah.
Right? Folk love to do all their shopping on the Sabbath day because it's buy one, get one. You got BOGO, half off this, and they giving away a spring sale and semi-annual sales. And no. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Read.
But the seventh day.
But Friday night to Saturday night. Read.
Is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God.
Come on.
In it thou shalt not do any work.
So now we see a law pertaining to the Sabbath. On the Sabbath day, not only do we rest, but the way that rest looks like is one, not doing any work. That's one part of that rest. Right? Keep reading.
Thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates.
So we as a people make this day special by resting, doing no work. All your business, get it done in them first 6 days. Why? Read the next verse.
For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them is.
We read that in Genesis chapter 1 and 2, right? Read.
And rested the seventh day.
Come on.
Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
So the first things that we should be understanding about the Sabbath day is it's a day of rest. Rest your mind, your body, your spirit, right? Do no work on the Sabbath day. Now, let's get another law because precept must be upon precept. Right, let's go to Nehemiah. The book of Nehemiah, chapter 10. And we're going to start in verse 31.
Nehemiah, chapter 10 and verse 31.
Come on.
And if the people of the land bring ware or any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell.
So it says, if the people of the land bring ware, meaning merchandise, clothing, shoes, Tupperware bowls, whatever you can think of, vacuum cleaners, right? Or any victuals, meaning food, on the Sabbath day to what?
To sell.
To sell. How do we respond to that as the children of Israel?
That we would not buy it of them.
Wait, brother, it's a buy one, get one sale at Target.
That we would not buy it of them.
They slashing prices at Walmart, brother.
We would not buy it of them.
Come
on the Sabbath.
Read.
Or on the holy day. And that we would leave the seventh year and the exaction of every day.
So the part that we want to extract from that is on the Sabbath day, we're not engaging in commerce, meaning we're not buying and selling. Right? Leave your money in your wallet on God's Sabbath day. Right? Please understand that this is a part of that rest. Rest your mind, your body, your spirit. We're not worrying about bills on the Sabbath day. We're not worrying about, let me hurry up and gas up. Let me hurry up and buy this. Let me stand in line at the register. None of that. It's the Sabbath. Right? Things need to shut down. Right? Stay in Nehemiah. Go to chapter 13. And read verse 19 for me.
Nehemiah, chapter 13 and verse 19. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark.
So when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark, remember we read Proverbs 7 and 9, where it told us what the evening mean, the black and dark night. Right? When the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark, read.
Before the Sabbath.
Before the what?
Before the Sabbath.
Come on.
I commanded that the gates should be shut and charged, that they should not be open till after the Sabbath. And some of my servants set I at the gates, that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day.
Don't be bringing your donkeys, your horses, your camels, or your U-Haul trucks full of your pickups full of stuff to sell on God's Sabbath day. It's the Sabbath. Remember, we treat this day special, separate, and set apart from there. So now we learn we got to rest on God's Sabbath day. How do we do that? One means of that is no working on God's Sabbath day. Whether it's work for hire, whether you want to go up on the roof and fix your shingle, save that for them other 6 days. This is the Sabbath of the Lord, right? We're going to get more into it. We know that we're not supposed to buy and sell, but let's get another facet of the Sabbath. Exodus chapter 16. All right. Exodus chapter 16, and we're going to start in verse 23.
The Exodus chapter 16 and verse 23.
Come on.
And he said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath.
So this is Thursday night to Friday, right? So he's telling them how they need to conduct themselves before the Sabbath hits, Friday at dark. Read.
Bake that which ye shall bake today, and seed that ye will seed.
So bake what you gonna bake, and seed, meaning boil or cook what you gonna seed. Read.
And that which remaineth, overlay up for you to be kept until the morning.
And whatever is left over, keep that until the morning. That's what you're gonna eat. You're not gonna be preparing, baking and seething, boiling, cooking, nothing else, right? On God's Sabbath day. So the Sabbath day, we're not cooking nothing on God's Sabbath day. I'm talking about specifically the 7th day of the week. Jump down real quick to verse 29.
Verse 29. See that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore, he giveth you the 6th day the bread of 2 days.
So on the 6th day, he gives you the bread of 2 days, which is showing us what? We have to prepare. Right? Before the Sabbath, prepare. Right? Make your sandwiches, your cold cuts. If you want some cooked food, go ahead and fry that chicken or grill that fish. Going on to be frying a bunch of stuff, but do what you're going to do. If you're going to cook, boil, whatever, do it before the Sabbath. Because on the Sabbath day, we're not cooking. A lot of people confuse that. I don't know how, but they start thinking stuff like that they can't eat on the Sabbath. Now, I don't know how you confuse that. But you can make sandwiches, cold cuts. You got fruit, cereal, whatever you want to do. As long as you're not cooking. Leave that microwave off. Right? You ain't boiling no water. Rest. You know, some stoves even got a Sabbath mode where the joint shuts off.
All praises.
And you can't make this stuff up, but we the only people that argue with the very things that can be the solution for our people.
Right.
Right? From there, let's go to the book of Leviticus. So we know now on the Sabbath day we have to rest. There's no buying. There's no selling. There's no cooking. But there's something that we have to do as a people as well. And this is important. This is why we need to free our space up so that we can engage the Most High with one another as a nation, right? Leviticus chapter 23, read verse 3.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 3.
Come on.
6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest.
Of rest. Read.
And holy convocation.
A holy convocation. Some folk that was in Christianity think convocation is a week when all these different pastors come through and you pay a whole bunch of tithes and you say stuff like you turned for Jesus, you crunk for Jesus. Nah. Holy convocation just means a set apart gathering.
Right.
A special gathering. A gathering of who? God's chosen people.
Right.
This is when we gather together, right? To encourage and exhort one another. We're going to let the scriptures define what that day looks like, right? Read that. Read the rest of that.
Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
Nah, some of your dwellings.
All your dwellings.
Now I want to do it on Tuesday, brother.
All your dwellings.
Let's go to the book of Hebrews. Right? Hebrews chapter 10. We almost done, y'all. Hebrews chapter 10. So when we gather together, what are we doing? Are we playing video games? Are we are we gathering together and playing, rock, paper, scissors? Are we watching hip hop and basketball? What's that joint? Love and Hip Hop or Basketball Wives? What are we doing on the Sabbath day? Right? Hebrews chapter 10, start in verse 24.
Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 24. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works.
That word provoke means compel, to encourage one another, motivate each other, to love and good works. Love, according to 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3, right, is keeping God's commandments, right? Provoke one another towards the keeping of the commandments as a nation of people, right? Those good works, obviously, is walking in righteousness according to the commandments. Read on.
Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together.
Come on.
As the manner of some is.
So us gathering together is a commandment. It's not like in Christianity where you're like, man, I don't feel it. I'm just going to stay in the bed. I'm going to do bedside Baptist this morning. No, there's no bedside Baptist in this truth. We gather together every Sabbath day because we love our people and we love the God of Israel. Right, read that one more time.
Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is.
As the manner of some is, because there's some that do forsake their people and decide, I don't want to gather with my people. Shame on you. You're missing out on a lot. a lot of teaching, a lot of growth, a lot of sharpening of one another, right? Read.
But exhorting one another.
Exhorting one another, encouraging each other in righteousness. Read.
And so much the more, as ye see the day approaching.
Because the day when the Christ comes back to visit the earth is coming. And you want to be preparing yourself for the return of the King. Don't think it light that Christ is coming back to the earth. You want to make sure that you're practicing these right or rehearsing the righteous acts, like you read about in Judges 5:11, right? Last but not least, Exodus chapter 31. So we know on the Sabbath day, there's no buying, there's no selling. You have to gather with your people. There's no cooking, there's no working. Why? Because we're gathering together as a people so that we can worship the Most High, encourage each other through the scriptures, right? Encourage each other in righteousness and holiness and godliness to come back to our heritage. We need to learn this thing because our whole lives, all we learned was everything the so-called white man told us. Christianity, whatever weird doctrine you might have been in. But now we're coming back to our heritage in these last days. All praise to the Most High in Christ. Exodus chapter 31 and read verse 16.
The Exodus chapter 31 and verse 16. Wherefore, the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath.
Read.
To observe the Sabbath throughout their generations.
How long?
Throughout their generations.
That means forever. As long as you're generating on the earth, having children, they are keeping God's Sabbath day. Right? We're gathering as a people. We're valuing one another as a nation. Right? Read.
For a perpetual covenant.
For a perpetual covenant. Come on.
It is a sign.
It's a what?
A sign.
The Sabbath is a sign for what?
Between me and the children of Israel forever.
Forever. Read.
For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed.
So if the Lord created the heavens and the earth and rested on the seventh day and was refreshed, what do you think will happen to you if you keep the Sabbath day? The Sabbath day. What do you think will be the results of you walking in obedience to God's Sabbath day? Right? Keep these things in mind. Right? The book of Hebrews, chapter 2 and verse 1. Right? The book of Hebrews, chapter 2 and verse 1.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 2 and verse 1.
Come on.
Therefore, we ought to give the more earnest heed to the things which we have heard.
Don't just let these words run away from you. Right? Meditate on these scriptures. Right? Think on these things. Read.
Lest at any time we should let them slip.
And God forbid you let these words slip and you go back into darkness, back into Christianity, back into doing things that the Lord never told you to do. Right? Again, we're the future world of Israel. Right? With another quick build. And with that, we say shalom.